Okay, so here I am ready to start the 30 Years' War. Europe in agony. That sounds pleasant. I took a look at the living rules on a suggestion, and I don't know if they're too necessary. I was told, oh, you don't even try it without them. Well, all I could find was some errata, actually, not the living rules as such. And it didn't look like there was anything that I was terribly confused about. I may find that's different as I get a better grip on the rules. One thing as kind of a bonus for those of you who don't just listen to the intro and maybe the review is I didn't go into too much detail on the victory points. Well, because basically I forgot what they came from. A lot of them do come from controlling specific cities and areas, but there are some other ones. For example, when a player first gets the majority of the electorates, they get 2 victory points. Now, the first turn, that's not in play, so probably starting turn 2, there will be someone who has the majority and they'll get that. They don't collect them per turn, it's a one-time only bonus, and if the Catholic gets all of them, or, well, if either side gets all of them, there's a 5-point bonus for that. Again, a one-time bonus, which could go both ways. There's also victory points for violating neutrality. If you violate the neutrality of an area, you pay a victory point to the other side, essentially. That can be worth it if you end up taking the area, but remember, in the long run, you may lose areas that you took, and you will never gain back that point you paid to take the area. So it's a condition. Hungary, I think I mentioned, is in a state of revolt. Basically, if the 3 Hungarian towns are taken by the Catholics, or if what's his name, Bethlen Gabar, that's Jaja's father, and she claimed a relationship. I don't know how obviously she's probably too young, but if he's killed, the revolt ends, which is clearly, you know, a disadvantage for the Protestants for that to happen. All right, and I think there's also victory points for the Dutch revolt track. First time it hits certain areas, victory points are locked in. If the Dutch win, victory points are locked in. If they lose, they're not. But that clears up an annoyance that the Catholics have to deal with otherwise. I guess I'm ready to start. Looking at the sequence of play, Wallenstein's not in the game yet. There's no pillage markers, so I'm going to deal out some cards, and I'm going to start the actions. And maybe we'll learn a little bit about how things like movement in combat work. Although it looks like movement is pretty much 1-for-1. There's some special, only one-way traveling is allowed on them. These boxes going to the United Provinces. Alright. Okay, so as the first action in a turn, either player, as their first action, can do what's called a free action. There are other free actions that can be done, which is like moving just a leader or unit about. Free actions don't take a card, but in the first action of the turn, there's a particular free action which is offering a peace negotiation. Looking at the points, though, it needs to be within a certain spread, without of a certain spread. So, for example, the Protestants to offer has to be either 40 or more or 15 or less. In this case, at 21, they can't offer that. They don't want to. What they want to do, looking at their cards, and we'll see, these CC cards, those are combat cards. Those can be played, and I think you're allowed 2 per player in each combat in the midst of a combat. And they eat up one of your actions, so you might have to take a free action instead. There's another card with a star. This is the Protestant hand. The star means card is discarded after being played, and there may be some kind of indicator of that cards having been played. So for example, in the case of the Pope, you change the Pope card. Now I can play this because it'll kill Paul V, and it prevents papal aid. That sounds interesting. But another one that's interesting here, I've got a few here. I can end papal aid if Gregory the 15th is Pope. The Gregory the 15th one only prevents it for one turn. So if I played both of these, I could prevent all papal aid. I don't know what the numbers on papal aid are. Let me just take a quick look. They're not tremendously big. So that seems like a lot of cards to play for that effect. Is this a mandatory event? It doesn't say it is. This event is playable only. Yeah, these don't seem to be mandatory. They move time along. And I'm kind of disturbed that they're not mandatory, because you would want to force them, right? That seems a little disturbing to me. Okay. Well, those seem like the kinds of cards you'd want to force. How important are they? I don't know, because it seems like 2 cards to prevent papal aid is rather high. On the other hand, this card to prevent Spanish aid seems valuable. And I'm actually going to start off with that card. It's a good card for the Protestants too, but I think this is what I want to play. And we mark that. I found out where these go. Over here. And the passes are now closed. That means no Spanish aid can arrive. That's going to be a major hit, because the Spanish give a lot of money while the Pope does not. Well, the Catholic player is going to counter that with his own Valtelline passes open. These cards are asterisked, which means that they're removed from the game. Each player has used 1 activation. Passes are open. These are discarded somewhere. I'll put them up here for now. But now we go back to the Protestant turn. And we're not really feeling like much is happening here so far. What would I want to do? I don't know. This looks like a powerful card, but I don't want to play it yet. Papal aid? I don't know. Let's try to think. What are we trying to do? I'm not sure. Hard problem with CDGs, isn't it? I'm trying to get victory points. I've got some significant forces. It looks to me like the Hungarians are outclassed. But I'm not so sure the 3, 4. It's only 4 Bavarians. Tilly is a fairly decent leader, though. His battle rating is a 2, and I don't have that. And it's kind of hard to tell what the results are going to be. I outnumber them, but not by all that much. How much could I move? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. 6, 7, 8. I could probably get everybody out there with a decent allowance. Let me think. Okay, I'm really blundering with this one, but I'm gonna start by trying to create, by trying to raise some troops. Ottoman Turks raid border. Sounds like an interesting card. It would prevent the Austrians from being paid. But this allows me to roll on the troop recruiting table. I can only roll for one leader. But I have a +1 for dynamic leader. There's no pillage. What do I want? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want mercenaries. Mercenaries sound good. So I get an 8, rolled a 7, which says I get 2 mercenaries. And I'll take regular Protestants and add them to my stack. And now I feel like I could fight. How does Tilly feel about this, though? That's a good question. So now, if I look at recruiting restrictions for the Emperor, he can recruit troops as well. He has Imperials. So I could do a number of things. I've got a very cool card here, which gives me Wallenstein. Also would give me a lot of points. This might be worth some serious, well, a couple of victory points for the electorates. That might be of some value. This looks like a useful card too. Discretion over valor. Remove and halt permanently from the game. That sounds interesting too. I'm not sure how good he is. Some Bavarian leaders, I don't think they're as interesting. England withdraws troops. That's definitely not terribly interesting. Let's look at those Bavarians. Who are we looking at here? Aldringer and Hulk. I haven't heard of them. These are Protestant leaders. Here are my Bavarians, and I have a lot of them. Well, Hulk's okay, but I got better. So that's kind of the thing. I've got better leaders right now. So I'm not gonna create those. And yeah, I'm kind of bumbling along here. And where do I get Wallenstein and Piccolomini? They are people I would like. So I think, much as that's an expensive card, I'm going to be playing. You know, I don't want to play this card for Wallenstein and Piccolomini. Here's why. And here I keep blundering around. It's got a star on it. That means it goes out of play. Which means I'll be losing a 3 operations and a good payout card for someone that I don't really think I can keep for the whole game. The way Wallenstein works is every battle he wins on offense is worth like 3 points for him, and every city he takes is worth a point. And it's just let me see, he's got a special rule card somewhere that I was just looking at. 3 boxes when he wins a victory, 1 for city gains, 1 for every unit he raises. I'm going to run out of him real early. Now, historically, Wallenstein was used very early in the war, and his lack later on was definitely painful. I'd rather see what would happen if I hold this kind of valuable card, and this is the goofy part of CDGs as far as I'm concerned. So what I want to do is I want to recruit. I decided I don't really need them, and I don't really need this, but this is not a bad card. Well, this one I definitely don't need. And these others I may want under other circumstances. So I'm going to play and recruit with this card. This card's not disposed of because I'm playing it for the ops. And I want to recruit with Tilly, who's got a +1 for being he's only got 4 troops. Well, he's going to recruit mercenaries as well. At +1. He rolls a 6. He only gets 1. And I gotta find one. He gets a Bavarian mercenary in his stack. And now I can recruit again. And here's the question. Do I want to recruit down here? Or do I want to recruit again with Tilly? I'm going to recruit again with Tilly. I believe that's allowable. One leader may attempt to recruit twice under the same card. Sure. So let's do that again, and let's do it with mercenaries again at +1. And he gets a 5, which is again just 1 mercenary for him. So he doesn't have that much, but at least he's stocking up a force. Alright. I'm going to play in a little less detail, even though we're not seeing anything here. Maybe if I actually decide to do something, I'll come back. Well, I don't want to kill the Pope yet. So I'm going to play this card for its ops points, and I'm going to try and attack. I'm going to move Mansfeld's army, and he has 7 command points, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He can just command this pile. And he can move 1. He can't pick these guys up because you can't do that. You can drop people off, you can't pick them up. 2, he spends a 3rd point to convert Linz. Now, 3, 4th point. To convert Salzburg, he comes over here. 3, 4, 5, and now he's going to attack. Now, unlike most of the CDGs I'm used to, and most games really at this game, well, there's no interception and there's no withdrawal before combat that I see here. So it's pretty much forced to fight. Now these are pretty good units. These are veterans. And we're going to face him. Pile of Protestants. Now, Mansfeld's automatically going to be in lead because he's a starred leader. I don't remember what their word is. I just played another Protestant action, so I got to remember to mark that down. That's what those suckers are for. And let's see what the actual combat is. For a 12, 21. 21 to 12, both have +1 in combat. And I'll use the dark brown for the Catholics. Not too exciting here. 21, I rolled a 9. That does 12 points. And an 8 on here does 9. So I did 12 and 9. 12 is 3, 6, 9, 12. And an Imperial veteran is gone. 9. Now, one reason that I'm flipping units instead of killing them outright, I guess I could do either, is that flipped units take up space, they require pay, so since the person causing the casualties gets to decide what they're doing, you end up with a lot more damaged units. Now this is obviously a victory for Tilly, or for Mansfeld, so we can set him up here, and I think we have some kind of retreat that has to happen. Right? Okay. So he basically has two choices. He could either go to Znaim or Graz. I'm going to fall back to Graz. This is bad because Vienna is his supply source. Now, Vienna's under siege at this point, officially, but there's no role for it that can be made. Alright, well that was the Protestant action. Now I feel like Tilly must respond somehow. I'll take a look and think about that. So I lied to you about the picking up. I could have picked up an extra unit here. I also forgot about my combat cards. I didn't use any, and the Imperials didn't have any. I'll live with that. One thing I did have to do, however, was I had to pillage a space that I moved through. And I'll drop a pillage marker here in Salzburg. Actually, I probably had to pillage 2 points of spaces. So I'll pillage 2 points in Salzburg. What the heck? Salzburg was worth a victory point, and I marked that over on the track. What happens with Austria is a question. I don't think that the Habsburgs and Catholics have lost Austria just because, you know, they no longer control. They need 6 areas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, they no longer have 6. They only have 5. So that's all the areas. I'm going to have to look up how that works. I was not expecting it to swing to be every space in an area, right? Upper Palatinate is 3, yeah. It looks like it is all the areas in most places. Brunswick, Brandenburg is 3. So I don't know if they've lost control of Austria. I'll come back with that, as well as with whatever Tilly's response is going to be to this. Okay, so Tilly built up more troops. He attempted to build some here, but that failed. And then Mansfeld sieged Vienna successfully. It's not that hard. You only need a 5 or higher. There's no modifier to Vienna, so that was fairly easy. Now, it's Tilly's move again. He's beginning to see a real threat, which he's not sure how to really respond to. Well, he wants to do so as best as he can. The discretion over valor card's worth 1. That's enough to move Tilly. Let's see if he can fight. He's got somewhat more strength, I believe, I hope. He's got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 21, 24 strength points. Whereas Mansfeld, oops, only has 9, 12, 14, 16, 18 strength points. But Mansfeld's got some cards. He's got a command rivalry, which will reduce the Catholic die roll by 1. And he's going to play surprise attack, which increases his die roll by 1. Now this is dropping his hand to only 1 card when he's got 2 actions left. He'll have to take a free action if this is the case, but he thinks this battle is important enough. The Catholics get a 3, which means they do 8, whereas the Protestants, oh, I'm sorry, they do 9, whereas the Protestants get an 8, which means they do 10. They have defeated Tilly. I wonder if victory points change for this. So now we look at points, and we were looking at 9 to 10. And we hit Tilly for 9, and we can't hit him for a 10th point. So that extra point is wasted, except that gave us our victory in the battle. The army is pushed back. I paid siege points in Munich and Lauschen. And that looks like that's it. Which will put it back on the Protestant turn with their limited number of cards. Now the Protestants have a problem, which is that they have to pay for that army, and they have no money. So the Protestants play their card for the foreign aid. They only get 11, because France isn't able to give yet. I'm not sure what's best, what's not. But remember, it takes a 1-ops card to get a chance at getting a couple of units, so taking those step losses may be a bad thing. I don't know. I can't think of a lot I could do. Maybe pursue Tilly. But if I'm going to lose my army due to... speaking of which, I'm out of supply. Whoa. I'm not going to do that. I have free actions I can take. Which could move a leader, or, well, that doesn't sound good either. Am I supplied if I get to Bohemia? It doesn't look like I get any free supply anywhere, which is horrible, because my army is just going to melt. Well, I'm going to pass as my action and see if I get an opportunity there. But clearly, getting a lot of points doesn't really help me if I can't save my main army. Alright, well, for the Catholics, I'm going to play their supply card for 12 bucks. I don't want to play Wallenstein this early in the game, for the reasons I explored earlier. Although having Piccolomini would be nice, I feel like I've gotten an edge with Tilly already. I don't need Wallenstein yet. That puts it on the last Protestant action. And now they've got a tricky situation. Because if they play this not for supply points, whatever they do, they end up having to forage with these mercenaries here. Saxony is probably okay. No, even the Saxons don't get free supply. So I think, in the end, I have to play this for its points. It gives me 11. It's what I would have done last time. That's the end of their movement. And now we go to the Catholics, and they're going to depose Frederick of the Palatine. And that changes another electorate over to them. And there's going to be a little event chit for this, which is not easily visible. There it is. Frederick deposed. I don't know where I'm supposed to put these. I can put them on the turn record track. There's spaces for them there, but anyway, Bavaria is now an electorate. And where are we? Well, that's the end of the action phase. We go to the pay phase. And there we have to see who needs to get paid and who doesn't. Okay, so the Empire has to pay its Austrians. It does this automatically, except it doesn't have its supply source. And in fact, these troops have nowhere they can draw supply from, so they have to loot. Alright, let's take care of these one at a time just as we go. I'll probably just do one, but let's look at the loot table. 4 more units, city, inside a besieged, majority of mercenary units in space, majority of veterans, that's a -1. Okay, so I have a -1 to the die roll, and I net a 3, which means they're paid off. Okay, that's cool. Well, let's keep going. The next space up, they do not have pay, and they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mercenaries. That can't be good, right? That's +1 for too many units. The city was not pillaged. +2. Now Tilly should have done his pillaging over in Vienna, because that would make this worse. +2 rolls a 0. I wonder what zeros are, if there's zeros or 10s. Big difference, eh? Yeah. Some games do it one way, some do it the other. Oh look, a 10-sided die. Oh, bother. The die. It's a 0. Excellent. Okay, so I was at +2. They're paid off. No problem there. Bavaria, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are all mercenaries. I'm going to pay them. Okay. Up to Bohemia, 1, 2, 3, 4. I pay them. And those are Protestant payments. What about my Saxons? I got 4 Saxons I gotta pay. I probably don't have to pay all of them, but I got nowhere else to spend the money. Remember, if you don't use it, you lose it. Alright, and then the final place where there are any forces that I see is up in the Spanish Netherlands. And there, I know, Spain is able to forage for free. So, no points, nothing exciting happened on the looting. And continued siege, if somebody was sieging, for example, if Vienna had not fallen yet, we would have a roll for that. Peasant revolt, those can't spread. The Catholic player could discard their card, but they want to hold on to it. It's a good card. And we're going to go into the next turn. And hopefully, these are down. I'll play a little less detail next turn. No? But I'm struggling to learn the rules, and I want you to be just as miserable as I am. No. Somehow I think that helps people to see it. Seeing the rules just explained is helpful too, but struggling through it with me is a way that I can provide the rules without necessarily understanding them as well. Trust me on this. I don't know. Alright. So this one is going up as soon as I get interwebs again, which somehow damned Cox seems to have dropped me for some reason.